Desde Europa, el protagonista sin duda en estos días es el reelegido presidente de Estados Unidos, es Donald Trump. Vamos a analizar durante los próximos minutos cuál puede ser su política energética, cómo va a afectar a la demanda global de petróleo, y lo vamos a hacer como siempre con los mejores expertos. Tenemos a Bob McNally, founder and president of Rapidan Energy Group. Hi Bob, thanks for coming for another TV, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Bob. I would like to ask you about the Trump win in this election. How could affect to the energy policy in the United States in the coming years?
So thank you. The surprisingly large Trump and Republican victory will have sweeping implications for not only U.S., but I think international energy policy. But in some ways, you know, the world has already been shifting sort of away from an intense sort of Paris Agreement net zero policy. We've seen in elections in Europe, especially, governments come to power that are concerned about energy security, energy affordability, alongside decarbonization. President Trump will continue that. I expect him to once again take the United States out of the Paris Agreement. It's even possible the United States will leave the UNFCCC, the climate treaty itself. And I think you will see a U.S. refocus more on fossil energy and cut back on subsidies and mandates to achieve decarbonization faster. So it'll be a return to all of the above and away from keep it in the ground.
Talking about Trump, I would like to ask you about the concern that everybody has about the return of the U.S. to a fossil fuel-dominated energy policy similar to that of the previous era. Do you think this is a possibility, Bob?
Well, I think President Trump is going to take us back to a policy, again, that focuses on all energy forms. You know, he's not opposed to electric vehicles. He just doesn't want to subsidize or mandate them. I also think he opposes overly aggressive methane regulations. And I think energy will come into play with trade negotiations as well. I think one important way that it will be similar to his first term and important is with Iran. The president plans to impose pressure, maximum pressure, on Iran's 1.5 to 1.8 million barrels a day of oil exports that President Biden has allowed Iran to return to. President Trump will seek to reduce that supply, those exports that mainly flow to China, in order to get leverage on Iran for an ultimate deal. And that will have potentially important implications for near-term oil markets, as it did during his first term. So in some ways, we'll see a return to some policies that we saw in his first term.
I would like to ask you about some dangers that these policies could pose to the United States and the whole world if they were reintroduced. What do you think? What are these dangers?
Well, in my view, the energy policy changes President Trump is planning to implement are not dangerous or risky. I think they are sensible. And again, I think they reflect a trend that we already see in governments, in energy companies, and among energy investors, as they have been sort of mugged by reality with high interest rates, high inflation, wars, a concern about letting China dominate our clean energy supply lines. All these things in recent years has moved the whole world toward a more pragmatic approach, and I think President Trump will be aligned with that. Where I think there may be cause for concern is on the macroeconomic policy side. If the United States imposes large-scale, across-the-board tariffs, and that leads to trade wars and retaliatory tariffs, that could hurt growth near term and hurt demand for energy. So that, I think, the macroeconomic concerns, I think, are more valid than the energy policy ones.
While the world is pushing to reduce carbon emissions through green and renewable energy, do you think Trump's future policies will align this with these global goals? What do you think about the Trump policy in this matter?
I think Trump policies will align with reality. You know, even in Europe, which has some of the most aggressive decarbonization policies and targets, we see that governments walk back and fail to implement them when it comes time, such as the German boiler ban that was delayed, the EU forestry bill that was delayed. ICE bans have been delayed. EV mandates have been delayed. And we see an active discussion about maybe even weakening or postponing the European EV ban. I say this just to say that it's not just in the United States that we're seeing a rebalancing of the energy discussion. It's not about opposing emissions reductions. It's not that. It's that perhaps in 2015 and 2016, we were too aggressive, too optimistic about how quickly we could decarbonize. So I think, again, President Trump is only going to sort of align with this movement we've seen around the world.
The last question, Bob, how is the ADIPEC event going? How's going on?
It is fantastic. It's incomparable, really. I think it's one of the best energy conferences out there. Everybody from all over the world, all parts of the energy system, government, industry, finance, experts, academia. And, you know, with everything that's going on in energy, in macroeconomics, in policy, in geopolitics, electricity demand for AI, geopolitical conflicts, of course, the U.S. election and other elections. It's an extraordinary, exciting time in energy, and Abu Dhabi and ADIPEC are great conveners, and it's been a fantastic conference.
Bob, thanks for being in Negocios TV's. A pleasure having you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day. Thank you.